Thank you both. I wanted to ask you about where you see the UK fitting in the European space defence ecosystem. On the one hand, I know we're going to come to the US, but on the one hand, since I was minister, the extraordinary defence surge, the growth of NATO, the Ukraine situation has brought the UK and European partners much closer together. And at Farnborough recently, there was a strong sense that perhaps the European defence surge could be a great opportunity for UK space. On the other hand, I noticed that IRIS is still, despite Commissioner Breton's departure, still very much focused on capability for EU members only. It looks and sounds very much like the EU's ambition to have its own constellation for secure comms and defence, very much out with Washington and Beijing. So I wanted to ask you, do you think the UK in this new landscape is part of the European defence space ecosystem, or in fact isolated from it?
I don't think it is part of that. I think, as we all know, there are significant political issues that are framing the potential for space collaboration between the UK and Europe. The European Union is very focused on its own sovereignty, developing its own systems for its own use. Negotiations from a third-party perspective, negotiations for acceding to those kinds of programs will be very difficult indeed. And I personally, I don't think that we've got that opportunity. But at the same time, we should also note that the European conversation on the space layer of this future European defence autonomy vision that is being debated so much, that conversation is very basic at the moment, I think. A lot has been mentioned, but only in very general terms about IRIS², for example. I think Andreas Kubilius has also mentioned at some point the need for an ISR constellation. So IRIS² is obviously a communications constellation, but there could be an interest from the EU to develop an ISR constellation that might perhaps offer a new point of negotiation for the UK to leverage its own expertise in that domain.
Thank you. Ms. Suess.
Yes, just to add, I mean, as I discussed earlier, the Johnson government obviously opted for a sort of hard Brexit as it comes to, structural cooperation with the EU on defence and security. Now, we have seen the EU move forward quite rapidly when it comes to space, in terms of building its own Earth observation constellation, building its own navigation constellation, but then also publishing a security and defence space strategy not that long ago. So also definitely recognising the need for protection and defence of those assets. And I agree, I don't currently see where the UK would be able to slot into that. On the other hand, I would want to sort of also highlight that obviously NATO is also an alliance that has now, started to take space more seriously in the defence sector. In that sense, obviously acting as more of a sort of middleman, being able to bring together what each individual member states has to offer. And obviously the UK has already offered the Skynet communication service as part of that. So for the UK, perhaps NATO, at the moment at least, seems to me at least to be the more sort of realistic avenue for collaboration. Obviously with the digital constellation Aquila, for example, for Earth observation, that is certainly something that would bring a lot of benefit.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Right.